Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama
Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna.
Vanchakalpadurvascha kripasinabhevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Welcome all devotees from around the world, and my warmest welcome from the bottom of my heart to His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj. As far as I'm concerned, holding Bhadra Purnima every year is worth it if we can get a little extra association from you, Maharaj. At least it makes it all worth it for me. And Maharaj was immediately responsive to the request that in the last 4 days that we have for this campaign for Bhadra Purnima, even though he was on a rigorous travel schedule on his way to India, he wrote me back practically in just a few minutes and said, yes, I want to be part of this. I want to talk about it. And Maharaj, just a couple of thoughts that we've been having over the last couple of weeks, and all these big pushes towards reaching certain numbers of Srimad Bhagavatams distributed have been in the light of what it makes of us to achieve it. We were considering the last of Prabhupada's purposes in ISKCON, that by distributing books and so forth, we would be able to also simultaneously achieve the aforementioned purposes of ISKCON. And we see it as a way that we can increase capacity And another thing I've been hearing from a lot of devotees is they want to feel some exhilaration in their preaching in the Sankirtan movement. And they saw how Prabhupada thought big, how the early pioneers thought big, and miracles happened by Krishna's grace, and they want to be part of that also. So they like this challenge of reaching for seemingly out of reach goals. And then finally, there's a consensus that this happens all by Lord Chaitanya's arrangement. We have ideas and planning and so forth, but somehow it all happens by his mercy. And then that happens through the great devotees who are carrying on Prabhupada's legacy. And among them, you are our revered leader. And we thank you very, very much for appearing here today to enliven us. Hare Krishna.
Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavad Paschate Shatarine Bansha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patithanam Bhavanibhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, Maharaj, the sound is very good.
Thank you. I am visiting someone's home, doing an event here in Mumbai in India. I'm using somebody else's machinery, so forgive any mistakes I may make. Yesterday we celebrated Radhastami here in India, the most supreme, auspicious event of the appearance of Srimati Radharani. When Srila Prabhupada was on the Jaladuta in 1965, approaching the Boston Harbor in the United States of America, he shared in a very personal, loving way with Lord Krishna his prayers. Srila Prabhupada prayed that Krishna, please give me your words to speak to these people. These people who are affected by the modes of passion and ignorance. It is only your words that could bring them happiness. Please allow me to speak your words and give them the power to understand your words. At that time, along with Captain Pandey and his wife and the crew members, Srila Prabhupada was alone in that cargo ship. But along with him were the boxes filled with Srimad Bhagavatam. Actually, a few years ago, I was taking a japa walk on the seashore in the South Indian port town of Cochin. And I just happened to be walking down the shore. I had no idea where I was. And I saw these big cargo ships. And then I came back by a beautiful monument. It was right at the port. And it described how in 1965, at this very place where that placard was, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada was about to leave from the continent of India to go to the West. And it was there in Cochin that the boxes of Srimad Bhagavatam came across India and were put on the boat. Yes, when Prabhupada was sailing over this Arabian Sea and he had those heart attacks and the seasickness, Srimad Bhagavatam was there with him. And when he was living in New York City, first in the Bowery area, or before that in Upper Manhattan, then Bowery, then Lower East Side, he was going to bookshops to put the Srimad Bhagavatam. And even if they couldn't pay or weren't willing to pay, he would just give them the Srimad Bhagavatams. And if anyone were to buy it, Srila Prabhupada would come back to get. And there were also letters when Srila Prabhupada was in New York where he was keeping regular contact with the person who in India was helping him to put the Srimad Bhagavatam in various bookstores in India and bring them to universities. And I remember when I was doing outreach programs in the colleges of America, I believe it was 1979, I went to Slippery Rock State College and I gave several programs in Professor Larson's classes and also Professor Sharma. And they were telling me all about when Srila Prabhupada came to Slippery Rock State College. They were speaking so many things about what he was saying and where he was going and what they were discussing. And at the end, they brought me to the library and showed me where Srila Prabhupada gave the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam and put it in the university library. And Professor Larson was telling me how this was so important to him. It was so important to him that he could present to the university his translations and purports to the Srimad Bhagavatam. And of course, at that time, Srila Prabhupada only had the 3 volumes of the first canto. And from that time, throughout the whole rest of his manifested pastimes in this world, he was continuously offering the seva to his Guru Maharaj, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada, to all of the acharyas in our parampara, and to the entire world, his translations and purports to the Srimad Bhagavatam. In fact, we have seen that historic video recording that Yadubar Prabhu and Vishaka Devi they took in Vrindavan in Srila Prabhupada's last days, when he couldn't even sit up. He could only whisper. He had a microphone to his mouth as he was translating the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Why this was such an intimate, prominent part of Srila Prabhupada's entire life is giving us Srimad Bhagavatam. It is because Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission was to personify the teachings of Srimad Bhagavatam. In fact, in Srila Prabhupada's first canto that he wrote at Radha Damodar Temple, he begins the introduction with a summary of Lord Chaitanya's life, because he personified the Srimad Bhagavatam. And it was his mission to give us the Srimad Bhagavatam, the crest jewel of all literature, the topmost of all knowledge. The Srimad Bhagavatam is Krishna himself. Srila Vyasadeva writes that when Krishna left this world and Kali Yuga began, Krishna incarnated in the form of the Srimad Bhagavatam to give light in this age of darkness. We are so fortunate. The mood in which I believe would be most appropriate to distribute these Srimad Bhagavatams, especially at this very special time, where the whole movement is united during the campaign of Bhadra Purnima to distribute as many full sets of Srimad Bhagavatam as possible. It is a way of Mahajano Yena Gatasa Panta, following in Srila Prabhupada's footsteps. He gave so much of the heart of his life to giving us the Srimad Bhagavatam and personally distributing it. And when he had followers, encouraging followers to distribute. It is a most rare and sacred blessing with these very few years that we have to live in this world. We have the opportunity to please Srila Prabhupada, to show our gratitude to Srila Prabhupada, to follow in Srila Prabhupada's footsteps by helping in whatever way we can to distribute these sets of Srimad Bhagavatam. And how pleased Srila Prabhupada is with you, Vaisheshika Prabhu, and all of your team, and all the devotees assembled together today, that we are all, for his pleasure, assisting him in the service of his Guru Maharaj. We are inspiring one another to be willing to take risks, to endure inconveniences with gratitude, with enthusiasm, and with devotion to share Srila Prabhupada's supreme blessings in the form of the Srimad Bhagavatam. All of our acharyas, they based their teachings, their lives, their writings on the words of Srimad Bhagavatam. Who are we? Who are we to even touch the Srimad Bhagavatam? the most sacred of all literatures, the Paramahamsa Samhita, the one scripture that is especially relished by the topmost Paramahamsa lovers of Radha and Krishna. Who are we to touch this book? Who are we to read it? Who are we to apply our hearts, our intelligence to understand it, to repeat the words? And who are we to have this ultimate blessing to actually be giving Srila Prabhupada's full life of devotion in the form of Srimad Bhagavatam to others? Yes, this is an opportunity to both receive the most intimate blessings and to bestow on behalf of Srila Prabhupada and our acharyas, to bestow that ultimate blessing. The Srimad Bhagavatam culminates by describing the love of Sri Radha for Krishna. In the month of Bhadra, Srimati Radharani appears in this world. Let us celebrate Sri Radha's eternal presence in our lives by sharing her grace through Srila Prabhupada's words in Srimad Bhagavatam. I'm feeling very undeserving, unworthy, and fallen in the presence of all of you to speak on this subject. But I'm so grateful to do so. And I beg you, I plead with you, please let us bring our communities and our movements together in honor of Srila Prabhupada's gift of the Srimad Bhagavatam. And let us spread our whole movement all over the world, the Harinam Sankirtan movement, by giving out this Srimad Bhagavatam to as many people, in as many languages, in as many places as possible. Thank you so very, very much. And thank you, Vaisheshika Prabhu, for inviting me to be a part of this festival.
Thank you very much, Maharaj. Maharaj, may I ask a question? Do you have time to answer one question?
Please.
Can you tell us the first time you came in contact with Srimad Bhagavatam, where it was, what it was like, and what you perceived in it?
I can. It was in India. I had just come down from the Himalayas, and actually it was just a few minutes from where I am sitting at this very moment. I was just walking down a street in Mumbai, and I came upon a park called Cross Maidan. And that was the first day of the first Pandal program Srila Prabhupada ever did in India. I believe it was February or March of 1971. And I had been carrying a little print from the SS Brijavasi company that I got the first day of India. It was a painting of Krishna, but his name was in Sanskrit, so I didn't know who he was. And when I came into the pandal after seeing a hoarding advertising that there was a spiritual event, the first thing there was a book table. And at that time, the Krishna book had just come out. The original printing of the Krishna book was quite large size, and it was silver color. And on the cover was a beautiful painting of Radha Krishna. And I saw this picture of Krishna and I recognized. So I went to the book table and I picked up the book and I asked the devotee who was behind the table, who is this? And he said, this is Krishna. And he told me it was the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. And I asked if I could read it because I didn't have any money. So during the day, there wasn't many people in the park. But on the stage, when I first came, Yamuna Devi was sitting on the stage all alone with a harmonium and a microphone, and she was singing. And he told me I could borrow the book as long as I didn't go far away. So I sat in the grass and I was reading the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam in the form of Krishna book as Yamuna Devi was singing. For many hours she was singing and I was reading. And that was my first experience of Srila Prabhupada's Srimad Bhagavatam. And then every day I came back. In the evening, Srila Prabhupada spoke, and about over 20 or 30,000 people came to hear him at night. But every day I would come during the day and sit and read the Srimad, the Krishna book. And I really wanted it so bad because it was so beautiful. And so it was like, I was reading many spiritual books at the time, but this was attracting my heart like no other. And I was going out and begging, trying to get enough money to buy it because they wouldn't give it to me. And I was not a good beggar. Somehow or other, that's never been my empowerment. But I begged as many paisas and rupees as I could, and I only had about half as much. And I believe the pandal was about 2 weeks. And the day that Srila Prabhupada was leaving, one devotee said, I've been out begging money every day to try to get enough money to buy the Krishna book, but I didn't have enough. And Srila Prabhupada personally handed me a Krishna book and patted me on the head. And he presented it to me as a gift.
Thank you very much, Maharaj. You can see one book can change the world. One book distributed. We know sometimes devotees are going here and there to present Srimad Bhagavatam, and sometimes they meet with those who they don't have the vision to see what it is or appreciate it at first. And sometimes devotees say that they fear being rejected when they go out to present the Srimad Bhagavatam. As you said, it's the Paramahamsa Samhita. It's such an elevated thing. And then, in some parts of the world, people have no context, and we present, and then maybe they don't appreciate so much or they reject it. Can you give some words of advice or solace to those who are doing this austerity, what they should think or feel when they go out into the great unknown in the public and try to present this?
Yes, thank you. I congratulate each and every devotee who gets rejected while trying to give Srimad Bhagavatam. How many times Srila Prabhupada was rejected? When the cowherd boys went to get prasad from the Brahmins, when Krishna and Balaram was hungry, Krishna sent them, go to the Brahmins, they're doing a yajna. And they were not only rejected, they were totally ignored, which was even more painful than rejection. And Krishna just smiled. He was pleased with them and said, continue. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, Srila Prabhupada often quoted when sometimes devotees went out to preach and hardly anyone came to their lectures. And he said, if nobody comes, you should be equally enthusiastic to preach to the four walls. So, how many times in the Christian faith was Jesus rejected? How many times was Srila Haridas Thakur rejected? So, to be giving, to be a representative of Krishna and Srila Prabhupada, to be an instrument of their highest compassion by being a medium for someone to receive Srimad Bhagavatam, to be either accepted or rejected is an equal blessing. And in certain ways, if we're really trying to convince somebody to accept it and we are rejected, how specially dear we are to Krishna for continuing with enthusiasm even after being rejected. It's such a monumental opportunity to make spiritual advancement and to win the heart of Srila Prabhupada and Krishna. So if people accept the Srimad Bhagavatam for us, we feel completely unworthy and so grateful that I could be an instrument to help this person. And if we're rejected, even if we're rudely rejected, we should feel so grateful that I'm allowed to endure this experience in my attempt to show my love for Srila Prabhupada and Krishna. What a blessing.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Rejection, if we honor it with a grateful heart, it increases our enthusiasm. It does not discourage us. And even if we are discouraged, if we continue anyway because it's for the pleasure of Prabhupada and Krishna, what a wonderful road of purification that is. And what a wonderful offering of actual service that is. But Vaisheshika Prabhu, you are an acharya on this subject. But you asked me to speak, so I tried to say something. Thank you.
My only achar is that I have the good sense to invite you to speak for all the devotees. Maharaja, I noticed, and as I'm looking through the audience today, I noticed there's quite a few new people. They're new to the Sankirtan movement. They're new to book distribution. They're enthusiastic. They're being carried by this enthusiastic wave. And I wonder if you could just say a few words about the history of the idea of the Brihat Madanga. It seems that Prabhupada was, as you said, so focused on getting books published, printed, distributed, and so forth. Where did he get that from? And where does this word, the Brihat Madanga, come from? What does it really mean according to our tradition and our philosophy?
Well, Sankirtan means the glorification of Krishna. Of course, chanting the holy names of the Lord in japa, chanting the holy names of the Lord with karatal and mridanga and dancing. This is Sankirtan. When we see among the great souls who personify the 9 processes of devotional service, Parikshit Maharaj personified how to achieve perfection through Shravanam, hearing, in the context of hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. And Kirtanam was, the process of Kirtanam was personified by Srila Shukadev Goswami. And what was his Kirtanam? Speaking Srimad Bhagavatam. So Srimad Bhagavatam is Kirtanam. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he began the Harinam Sankirtan movement in Sri Navadvip Dham, first at the house of Srivas Thakur, and sometimes in the house of Chandrasekhar Acharya. And then later on, he brought the Harinam Sankirtan party to the Chand Kazi's house. And then from then on, Kirtan was constantly resounding through mridangas and karatals and the loud chanting of Shri Shri Radha Govinda's holy names. Still, we read in Navadvip when they were doing kirtan or they were discussing Srimad Bhagavatam. That was a very primal part of the lives of the devotees, is discussing and reading Srimad Bhagavatam. When Lord Chaitanya was in Puri, he had kirtan in the streets of Puri, but still every day he would go to Gadadhar Pandit's house. And for many hours every day, the two of them would discuss and read from the Srimad Bhagavatam. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu sent the Rup Sanatan, the 6 Goswamis, to Vrindavan especially to extract the essence of all Vedic literatures, which was to expand and expound the glories of Srimad Bhagavatam. Srila Jiva Goswami went into such philosophical depths on the basis of Srimad Bhagavatam. And all of our acharyas, Narottam Das Thakur, Srinivasa Acharya, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, and more recently, Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and Srila Prabhupada, they based all of their teachings on the Srimad Bhagavatam. And Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita is declared to be the postgraduate study of the Srimad Bhagavatam. So the glories of the Srimad Bhagavatam are very much at the heart of our whole movement, the heart of Lord Chaitanya's mission. You cannot separate Harinam Sankirtan from Srimad Bhagavatam. And Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, when he set up printing presses, and I remember Vaisheshika Prabhu, you went to the Bagh Bazaar Gaudiya Math and you saw the original printing press. I believe it was first built in Cleveland, Ohio. Now, this is in the 1920s. In the 1920s, when the trade between America and India was practically non-existent, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada, he was so enthusiastic to establish what he called the big mridanga, the printing press for publishing books, predominantly based on the Srimad Bhagavatam. And he brought in how much effort, whatever the price may be, how much research, he brought from Cleveland, Ohio, the best possible printing press available to the world. And he brought it to his Gaudiya Math near Ultadungi Junction Road. in Calcutta because he was so enthusiastic for this big mardanga, for the printing press to have books to distribute. And yes, the Harinam Sankirtan movement is our movement, but books are the basis. And Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur instructed our beloved Srila Prabhupada at Radha Kund, if ever you have the possibility, publish and distribute books. And Srila Prabhupada took that as his life and soul. And he gave his life and soul in the service of his guru and all the acharyas to give the world the Srimad Bhagavatam. And it is the big mardanga. And if it is in a person's home, it remains there forever, purifying the atmosphere. Srimad Bhagavatam, the form of the book is actually a deity of Krishna. It's the Vani form of Krishna. And the supreme mercy of Srila Prabhupada. And he has distilled the supreme mercy of all the previous acharyas in our parampara, Lord Chaitanya and the Panchatattva. That's what Srimad Bhagavatam is. And yes, Sankirtan is going into the streets and chanting. Sankirtan is discussing Krishna among devotees. And Sankirtan is in distributing the glories of Krishna in the form of Srila Prabhupada's books. And to utilize this opportunity of the benediction given in the Srimad Bhagavatam of how auspicious it is to give Srimad Bhagavatam at the time of this Bhadra Purnima. It's so special. And Vaisheshika Prabhu, thank you and thank all your devotees and thank all of those who are opening their hearts to be receptive to your love for Srila Prabhupada, to bring our whole movement together with an enthusiasm based on this blessing to give Srimad Bhagavatam at the time of Sri Radharani's appearance day, just after when it is Bhadra Purnima. It is glorious, and I'm thankful, and I offer my heartfelt prayers and gratitude to all those who participate.
Thank you so much, Maharaj. We'll mark this Bhadra Purnima 2023, the pinnacle, at least in my mind and heart, is your appearance here today. It's just so heartfelt to have a cause that brings everyone together and in like-mindedness. And you epitomize that for all of us in the movement, the way that you lovingly deal with everybody, and you always encourage everyone to follow strictly the simple path that Prabhupada gave us. And we're all so grateful to you. Thank you very much for giving us someone to look to emulate, and to follow in the footsteps of. Marj, we have a short documentary about how some Bhagavatams just went to the Antarctica.
I do have to go now because I'm at somebody's house and I have an event that I have to be at. So I have to, but I would love to see it at another time.
Sure, Maharaj. We'll show it to you another time. And I've done my duty to milk our Kamandenu cow to the best of my ability, even though.
Please give my sincerest gratitude and my obeisances to Nirakula Devi Prabhu. She's a great inspiration in my life also.
Thank you very much, Maharaj.
Thank you, Vaisheshika Prabhu, and thank you to all of the assembled devotees. Mancha Kalpatarubhya.
Kripascha Kripasnabhevacha Patitanam Pavanibhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha.
I really want to see Antarctica, but I'll have to kind of put it on ice until I can.
It's all right, Maharaj. It's mostly just about penguins and things anyway. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Hare Bo. Srila Radhanath Swami Maharaj Ki Jai. Gaur Premanande. Okay, if anyone wants to stay on for a few more minutes, we're going to check in with a couple of leaders. And Malini Devidasi, are you there? Oh, you got to let her unmute. Everybody's on mute. She can't get off, I can tell.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, please accept my
Yes,
humble obeisance.
just extemporaneously, we didn't ask you beforehand, but I'm just picking a few because you're right on the front lines. Not only are you helping along with SKP to organize this campaign here at ISV, which is doing quite well. You're on the front lines also going out, meeting people. Just give us a sense what's going on, your realizations. I think we need it in the last 4 days, just the impetus to know that in the last 4 days we can do wonders. We're actually really inching towards our goal worldwide. And we'd like to hear from you the ways in which things are working for you and your team.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Thank you so much, Prabhu. I was just reflecting this morning on how we could actually meet our goals here for Bhadra Purnima. The first step was when we set the goal, we put a flag declaring to Lord Chaitanya that we want to have this goal. And the thing that really helped was your principle of assume it can be done. Once you said it can be done, all we had to focus on how to get it done. And we placed every possible location wherever we were distributing, at the tables, at the parks, and even at the Oppenheimer movie theater outside that. We placed Bhagavatams everywhere. And we were at the at the stores, at the streets, and all these places. We were just calculating and tabulating our scores, and we distributed actually more than 1,300 Bhagavatam sets on the streets from Gaur Purnima till Bhadra Purnima. And we were just wondering how it happened. We didn't just steadily doing it. And yesterday, when we were at the store, at the Indian stores, we were meeting the CEOs, the CFOs, sometimes the vice presidents of big companies. And we were wondering if they would take or not. And yesterday we met a person who is leading a product development team in a big company, and he focuses on artificial intelligence. And he said that he's developing all this technology for doing this artificial intelligence. So he asked, what is there in this Bhagavatam that you can offer it to us? And we showed them how Bhagavatam is explaining the structure of the universe, and how Kardama Muni was able to build a mansion of 7 stories just based on mantra. So I asked, can you convert the mantras into code? And this Bhagavatam can show you how to do it. He was really fascinated. He said, I wanted to know what is in this book. And initially he was saying, I'm a Jain, I don't follow this, I don't follow that. But after showing some of the things from Srimad Bhagavatam, he was really attracted, and he took the entire set of Srimad Bhagavatam. So right from the people who are from the intelligent class, highly intellectuals, as well as some very simple devotees that we met from Mithila, a very, very old lady whose mother has memorized the entire Srimad Bhagavad Gita, all the 700 verses. And she took the Bhagavatam in Hindi, and she said, she gave a blessing to all the people there. She said that people do bhudana, people do godana, people wants to do other things. But she said, people don't even have land to do dan these days. But she said, the best kind of dan that you can give is this Grantha Dan, that is to give Bhagavatam as a gift to everybody. And she blessed all the people and she said, may your project succeed. So this is the kind of response that we are getting when we are going out on the streets to distribute Srimad Bhagavatam. And back at home at the temple, we did a fundraiser for Radhashtami. And we were able to do it only for a short period of time because we were running out of time and we had to do the Aarti. And we stopped the fund. We did about 100 and we got a sponsorship for about 180 sets. But even after the fundraiser was stopped, devotees started texting in, and we got sponsorships about 265 Srimad Bhagavatam sets to be sent all around the world, to India, South America, Ukraine, and to many other places in Japan and other places. So the surge to distribute Srimad Bhagavatam sets is actually increasing. We thought the market is not good, so devotees won't be able to sponsor. We thought TOVP has taken the Lakshmi from the devotees won't be able to sponsor, but we see that it is actually increasing than we expected. So all we have to do is just try our best. We know we should assume it will be done, but we just have to give our try, and then Lord Chaitanya will make it happen. Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you, Malini, for giving us your realization from the site of the distribution. And now we want to show a couple of maps, and then I'm going to ask Divyanam Prabhu, who's looking over Europe, and along with Tredas Prabhu, and we want to swing over to Africa and hear from Tirumala. So let's go quickly while everyone still has a few minutes. We're not going to go past the top of the hour, and we'll show the maps. They're updated. They're being updated in real time now because we're still actually Shamohini and her team are calling everybody on the planet, asking them to give their pledges. It's a hard thing to do, to pledge, because it means that you have to give up your peace of mind. Once you make a pledge, then you can no longer be peaceful, right, Malini? And you say, now I have to do this. I said it, now I have to do it. That's where we should live. We should live in that zone where we make a pledge to Krishna, and now we have to be in anxiety to make it up. So this is an opportunity. Shamahini, are we going to show the maps, or do you want to talk to the devotees first?
Prabhu, we can show the maps. Thank you.
Let's show the maps. Everyone okay? Okay, Bhagavatam's on the rise. But this is just the beginning. These are beginning numbers to cover the earth, just beginning numbers. It's like a little fire that started, and it's just, you see little spark, tiny little flame. Let's keep going. 2022, it was 43,000. Last year, we distributed 45,880. And this is what it looked like around the world on the maps. Take a close look. Just scan it. It's not hard to see the various regions, who's doing what where. And continuing, we're looking where we're going. We want to get to this base number of having the capacity all over the world to do at least 100,000 sets of Bhagavatams as a starting point annually. So that means we have to push and do some tapasya right now to get up to that 100,000 mark, so we can increase from there. The more we grow, the more we can grow. So this is the campaign, propagate it, keep this number in mind, and you can get a tattoo that looks like this on your arm or your neck or wherever people get them nowadays. Keep going. So our goal for this year is 55,000. So we have just 4 days left to meet that number. And we've been campaigning with the Go to Goloka campaign consistently since after Bhadra Purnima, but now we're down to 5 days, just like when you were in school, or maybe still are now, and then you forgot to do your paper and it's the night before. Well, this is it for Bhadra Purnima. write your paper and do your quota, get it done. Prabhupada made quotas for everybody, really intense ones, and it was the joy of the movement. September 29th. Okay, here's some looks around the world. We have New Zealand. The pledges are in at 184. We have Australia at 352. We have Fiji, the leading indicator country, at 44. The Far East at 155. Europe, 1,709. Africa, 393. South America, 120. North America, 6,233. We've divided India, or the Indian leadership is divided into 4 regions. You can take a look over here, over in Gujarat and Maharashtra. We have northern India. We have southern India. And here we have, where are we there? Okay, east. Odisha. So here are the pledges we have right now, 32,227. Every set counts now to get to our goal of 55,000. So now's the time, the last minute. I saw a bumper sticker once that said, if it wasn't for the last minute, I wouldn't get anything done. So now's the time to really go for it. Now, Divyanam Prabhu, please tell us how things are looking over there.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, my obeisances, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, and my obeisances to everyone online. Things are looking very positive, Maharaj. We are now in the last 5 days, as you said, and the pledges have been coming in as Shama Mohini Mataji was following up with us. So we're just waiting for one more country. As a Europe, with about, I think, 21% increase this year, we are looking at 1,800 mark based on our performance last year. And I think, yeah, the pledges are closing in, and so are the results for every other temple I've been speaking to. There is an amazing energy across all the temples which are participating, and a lot of messages, pictures have been shared, especially at Bhaktivedanta Manor, where we are pledging nearly half of the Europe results, which is 720 Bhagavatam sets. It's been a great last few weeks, especially for us, starting from Janmashtami, where we were looking at, I think we did 205 sets of Bhagavatam over Janmashtami. And now we are really raging towards our goal. We are still about 130, 140 sets away from meeting our goal here at the Manor. And I think it's a similar situation for the Europe in total. Yesterday was really good for us. We had Dinabandhu Prabhu, who's here. He spoke on Radha Ashtami and also spoke on Srimad Bhagavatam and how everybody should get involved. And if you remember a meeting you had in Barsana with one of the Matajis who wanted to help us distribute some sets. So they requested for about 30 to 40 sets, I think 30 sets of Bhagavatam. And I think we managed to get just 30 sets sponsored just yesterday on Radha Ashtami for Barsana. And it was very appropriate because the moment it was announced, devotees all kind of came forward saying, I want to send the set on Radha Ashtami to Barsana. So it was really nicely done. So that's, that's so, yeah. Every part of Europe at the moment is excited. We have Trai Prabhu, who's been very nicely coordinating with Benelux. Italy is really looking to go for 108 as they have done. And we've got, other temples coming on board as well, Maharaj, which is great. Soho, Wales, everybody is chipping in now. So it's been really exciting at this part of the Europe, and we can't wait for the last 5 days now. Thank you, Maharaj.
Thank you, Divyanam Prabhu. Keep up the great work over there. Only 32 sets a day. You need to hit your goal. Now we're going over to Ambarishi Maharaj for a report, and then we'll come to Tirumala. Devi.
Hare Krishna. Can you hear me?
Yes, Maharaj, we can hear you.
Please accept my humble obeisances. Devotees in Russia also are very enthusiastic to participate. And on Janmashtami, we were distributing books in Russian festival. We had festival with 2,000 devotees, and we distributed 10 Bhagavatam sets on Janmashtami. And some devotees, they booked sets for when they will come back from the festival to get these sets. Also, yesterday I was in Crimea and we had a nice Radhashtami festival, and 5 devotees took Bhagavatam sets. And all around Russia, devotees are trying to promote Srimad Bhagavatam sets. BBT has supplied quite enough books, so we are trying to reach our goal of 150 Bhagavatam sets. Maybe it will be more, because for the last week, so many devotees, they joined to distribute Bhagavatam sets, so maybe it will come more.
Thank you very, very much, Maharaj. That word more is music to our ears. Hare Krishna. Tirumala Devi, coming all the way from Africa, tell us how that big continent is doing and catching up to India.
Hare Krishna, please accept my humble obeisances of Christ
Как
Srila
дела в
Prabhupada.
Африке?
So Africa is roughly 50% of the way. I know that we just have about 5 days left, but I mean, anything is possible in those last 5 days. We've seen that in the past. So devotees are still really inspired, and I mean, in the last few weeks, really making use of all of the festivals to bring awareness for the campaign and getting a lot of pledges through that. There are countries within Africa that have already surpassed their goals. So Kenya, for example, Zambia, as well as Malawi. And then we have Nigeria participating this year. And so it's going well. We just, really are going to push in these last few days.
Thank you very much, Tirumala Devi. Tirumala Devi works behind the scenes tirelessly, helping to put out videos, the marketing campaign. She's part of the marketing team for the BBT. We thank you very much for all the service you're doing. Also, I'd like to thank Shamohini and Anukul Seva. Shamohini she doesn't stop. She's relentless and contacting everybody and offering facility. And even now, if you look in the chat box, you'll find that we have backup services for anyone. Please take advantage of it. And please don't mind if one of our team calls you, especially Shamohini, and asks you how you're doing, what your pledge is, and how you're doing towards it. Just take it as a way to hook into this wonderful marathon, and just give a number and try to do the best you can in the last 4 days, and Krishna will sign the check. Just make the pledge and Lord Chaitanya will help you. We're really grateful today that His Holiness Radhanath Swami came and gave us this association. And I always find that the advocacy of the leaders of our movement is what inspires us most. We want to please the great Vaishnavas. So we're so grateful to Maharaj and all the other leaders who are supporting us and the rest of the movement by showing an example and giving us words of encouragement. Thanks to all of you who are on the site, on the streets, everywhere, just reaching out. I really appreciated what Maharaj said about rejection. It's heartening to know that it's equal whether we get rejected or accepted. We're still in the direct service of Lord Chaitanya and Srila Prabhupada and the Parampara. And we may perhaps even endear ourselves more deeply to Krishna by taking that risk to have our ego offended by somebody not accepting it. It's on behalf of Krishna. And he compared it to the cowherd boys going and asking the brahmanas for some charity and they wouldn't give it. And Krishna smiled. So we're really blessed And thank you, everyone, for joining. 4 days left. Please lean in and just pray. And I'm going to end with a prayer. Dear Srila Prabhupada, dear Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Shri Panchatattva, Shri Gaura Nitai, if you so desire, please empower our global team to smash our goal of 55,000 sets of Bhagavatams for Bhadra Purnima. Please inspire everyone around the world to take the last 4 days as a final exam, that we're putting ourselves out for all the acharyas as they've done for us, and trying our hardest to make a last bit of increase. And please help us to remember that we win by a lot of devotees, each doing a little bit. It's those extra 1 or 2 sets that everyone decides to do at the last minute that are going to make a difference. Thank you for considering our request. Om Tat Sat. Everyone agrees with this prayer in whole or in part? Oh, before I finish, also get to 34. It's part of our Bhadra this year. Memorize 34 verses in the second chapter of the Bhagavatam, Divinity and Divine Service. You could do that in 4 days too. Hare Krishna. Everyone agrees with this prayer in whole or in part? Please unmute and say Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna,
Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna.
Gaur Premanande Haribo.
Haribo.
Oh.
Haribo.